Welcome to Drinking with Authors. I am your host, Erica Lance, and today is a very special and yet epically cool episode because I have some of the people featured in the Misplaced adventures. So welcome. No co-host today. Everybody's waving. That's okay. There's audio too. It's fine. They're all waving. We're already starting off awesome. Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking. Normally, I'd screw this up. It's I
was going to say, is this first part primarily an audio thing?
It's both. It's audio video.
Okay, but do you air it as an audio only? This portion,
both. Yeah.
Okay.
It's bi media for us bisexuals who like bicycles.
Right. There you go.
There we go. I think we should probably talk about what we're drinking now. Okay. So I think technically what I'm drinking is a White Russian, but it's I don't think
in a White Russian?
Now it's Bailey's and chocolate milk, so I'm not sure what that qualifies as.
I think if it is to be qualified as Russian, it would have to have vodka. I think if it has Bailey's and chocolate milk, it is just child's Saturday morning breakfast cereal beverage in Ireland.
I never thought about putting this in breakfast cereal. That would actually be kind of awesome. Now that you've
on your Lucky
mentioned
Charms.
it to me, I'm going to probably do that. So my breakfast cereal milk, that is what I am drinking. Jen, what are you drinking?
Okay, I have a story behind what I'm drinking. So we've spent 20 years in the military, moving every 2 to 3 years. We don't. We end up being homeless in between moves while we're searching for a new place to live. So my husband just got out of the military. We got to Atlanta yesterday, and we're buying a house, and we're going to settle down and try and be like normal people, which we'll probably fail at, but that's okay. So I've got 4 kids, and whenever it's Christmas or New Year's or we're celebrating something, we end up drinking Martinellis. So I've got like my little baby Martinellis, if you could see the size of them.
My gosh, that's
cute and tiny. So that's our like fancy wine.
That size, you don't have to share that.
I know. You know what? I've got 2.
Still all yours.
All for me. Yeah.
All for you. Double fisting it. I like it.
There you go.
I like it. Okay, Tracy, what are you drinking?
I am a little bit more, I'm not as fun as you guys, so I just had to get my generic little kilt lifter. It's
what is that?
Scottish style amber ale. I believe this might be an Arizona brew. So
I like kilt lifter though. That sounds kind of awesome because we all know what's under those kilts.
Right.
Okay.
You never know.
Nothing.
That sounds like a premonition there of when you drink that, you like end up with no clothes on or something. I don't know.
Probably.
If that is the case, I will be buying some immediately. If that is an option A, if that particular beverage. Just kidding. CM, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a version of an old fashioned. I almost want to share a story I know about kilts from back when I used to act at the Ren Fair. Ooh. But this one has a slight story as well. So I'm a teacher at an alternative school. And the particular recipe for this old fashioned I got from the restaurant where we had our Christmas party this year. And when we went, you only get one chance to shock your coworkers, and then they know that that's you and they expect it. So I generally look like this, like hair up in a clasp, no makeup, dressed kind of like an eccentric frumpy witch most of the time. That's just kind of the cat lady vibe that I give off to the kids. I crochet when they're working independently so I don't bug them. And so when it was time for the Christmas party, it's like, all right, there's only one kid on campus. I can change. And I changed into like this skin tight, off the shoulders, sexy red dress, put on my makeup, let my hair down. Then I had to like shuffle around with a jacket over my shoulders because I didn't want a kid to see like my cleavage. And then afterwards, I show up at the restaurant where we're having the Christmas party. Multiple coworkers did not recognize me. Because it was a party and there were no children around, I was fucking cussing like I do. And they were serving this drink and I was just knocking them back left and right. And I had some coworkers who had like half of what I was having and they were trashed. And I was like, yeah, I'm still good. And the delight at the shock They're like, who the fuck are you? What happened to the cat lady?
I love that you gave yourself a Christmas present in that.
Yeah.
Merry
We
Christmas.
also named my drunk self. Her name is Bonnie Lass.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Okay. So before we get into Misplaced Adventures, I would like each of you to talk a little bit about what you do and what you write or what parts you have in this. So I'm going to start with you, Tracy. Begin.
So I was the developmental editor for both Jen and Chelsea. I got to read both of their amazing stories, and it's kind of funny because I know the world. I've read Kevin Petaway's story, like where it all started, and it's so interesting that you can feel the similarity, but they're so different. And I don't know if you guys have read each other's work yet, but I can't wait for you to do it because I feel like your two characters could be best friends. So I'm really excited about that. But that's my role in Misplaced Mercenaries. I'm kind of going off on a tangent about their work. I'm a developmental editor for Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing, not only with Misplaced Mercenaries, but I've done some of their other books. I write as well. I'm a fantasy author, writer, YA and adult.
Very cool. And what are your series? This is slightly shameless self-promotion.
Yeah,
Trying to come on this podcast. So
my current work out there right now is Sarah the Salaryman Slayer. And it is a 16-year-old exchange student who lives abroad in Japan. And she accidentally opens up the gates of hell, and she has to try and fix it and put things back with the help of a demon that she meets who doesn't really want to be partnered up with her, but together they have to basically fix her problem.
I love that. I love that. That sounds like so much fun. Jen, what about you?
Okay, what was the question again? How did I get started with Misplaced Mercenaries, or what I do with them?
No, your part with them, and then about you in general.
Okay, my part with them is I'm one of the authors of Misplaced, the Misplaced Adventures universe. Has started with Kevin Petway, and they've invited other authors to come and write in this world, their own individual series with their own characters. So I've got the first book in the expanded universe coming out in like a week and a half on the 25th of July. So, well, that's probably going to be past tense by the time this airs, but yeah. So One Good Eye is the name of the first book in my Hetty Stormheart series. And that is the first series that's coming out after Kevin Petway's initial series.
Okay. And what about you in general?
I have 4 kids that I homeschool. I'm a military brat and a military veteran and a military wife, and we travel around a lot. And so my writing ends up being very sporadic, but I write to deadline. So I tend to write whenever there's something due. So I've done a lot of short stories, and I've got 8 short stories published in various anthologies that you can find on jenbair.com, my website. It's got a list of randomness. 3 of those are with Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing, who is putting out this series. So
very cool. Okay, CM, over to you.
So I am writing, my book is called Beer for My Corpses, which is a riff off that delightful country song. And the premise is essentially you have a swamp witch who runs a bar in the middle of a swamp, but she's not a witch. She's a con artist, but also she's not a very good con artist because she's really stupid and ends up getting herself into quite a lot of trouble, which she is keeping from her kitchen girl, who is her best friend and confidant and sort of partner in crime. And things just escalate and get worse for her when zombies appear in the swamp. Because of course she's the witch, she's supposed to fix it, but she can't. I ended up coming to Cursed Dragon Ship. I'd actually met Kelly, the editor, a couple of times through my agent, who is a friend of hers. And I ended up being recommended to this, I would say in part because I have a lot of short stories published through through some small presses that are now gone, and a couple of articles here and there. But I had a novel come out in 2020 through Macmillan. It failed miserably because Macmillan does not believe in marketing. And they do believe.
You don't say. Weird.
Literally, my ex-brother-in-law, when I got the publishing deal, he was just like, I'm so happy for you. You are working for an evil empire, but I'm so happy for you. So after the book failed, I kind of spiraled and was just workaholic, like boom, 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 gotta write constantly, hyper productive, and then coming up with ideas constantly, kind of like I was trying to make up for the failure, to the point where I think I was driving my agent a little bit nuts. And so she recommended me to Cursed Dragon Ship because she knew I had the energy for it. And I'm sort of writing for this in tandem with independent projects, which I think has helped my agent to catch her breath. And it's been interesting because most of what I write is young adult fiction. And it's generally very dark and kind of philosophical and psychological and dealing with trauma. And this series, by contrast, is way more comedic than what I usually write. And it's obviously for an adult audience, which I haven't really done before. So it's been a very fun challenge.
Awesome. I would also say that I don't think your book failed. I think they failed you in how to handle it, because it's not just them. It's you have to learn that you have to market your book, because unless you're in their top 0.1%, they're not going to do anything for you. So,
well, the imprint. So I will say 2 months after the book came out, like even at my friends threw me an unpublished party, kind of like a bachelorette party, but for an author.
Oh, okay. I like
this
theory.
Yeah, to celebrate my last night being unpublished. And it was a fantastic party. But even during the party, I was like, guys, this book's not going to do well. I can tell from what they've been doing lately with the pandemic and all. And 2 months after the book came out, they said, we're not going to consider any sequels. And then within another 3 months, the imprint was under. While they had been telling us the whole time, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine, but everything clearly was not fine. The other authors saw the writing on the wall. I kept going, I'm sure it's fine, I'm sure it's fine, and trusting it. I was wrong. They were right. The imprint went under. And I think that's one thing I really like about Cursed Dragon Ship is, even though I know me coming in, being agented made things really stressful and complicated for Kelly, she has a vision that she wants to stick to and that she wants to push forward, which is a real collaborative effort on all levels of the publishing house. And I think that's, frankly, especially when you consider the strikes going on right now, a well-needed breath of fresh air and something that just the entertainment industry in general needs right now.
I agree. And it's great to hear more publishing houses like this, because there are several out there. We're smaller. I have a publishing house. We're smaller. We're picking up, but there's definitely, I think, now a lot more that understand the community vibe and understand that this is something all artists need to be, recognized and a part of. And I think it's true. Obviously these tankers don't move quickly, but I think the industry is changing because of self-publishing and smaller presses and stuff. It's no longer a cute little nuisance thing that the publishing companies could be like, this is a nuisance. Like Book Talk and TikToks and things like this are taking people who normally would not get recognized, because the authors and other people are getting smart to, oh, wait, I can do this and actually get myself out there more than HarperCollins and Macmillan and Simon & Schuster. Like, I can get myself in front of audiences. So I do hope you republish whatever book that was, but
There is a hope with a certain micro press that my agent and I both very much love, but we'll see what happens.
Very cool. There's also independent publishing. Okay, throwing that out there. Now let's move on. So you guys came together to do this, right? Which is amazing. But let's talk a little bit about your journey and how you got here. So Jen, you said you homeschool, bless you, because I was homeschooled. I understand this dynamic completely. And there was only 2 of us, so I can't imagine with 4 of us. So what made you decide you wanted to start writing?
Okay. This is kind of a weird story, but I've always been a big reader. When I was 18, I decided it'd be fun to write a story. And I didn't know anything about writing. And so I thought you come up with an idea for a character and then you start making them do things. They wander around, they have adventures, whatever. I wrote a couple chapters maybe and was like, I have no idea where this character is going. Maybe I'm just not a writer. So I put it down. 10 years later, when I was about 28, I went to an Orson Scott Card boot camp on writing. And I thought, yeah, let's be a writer. And so I did the same thing. I came up with a character and I had him do different things, for a few chapters and it just didn't go anywhere. And I'm like, I have no idea where this book is going. I must not be a writer. And then another 10 years later, this was about 5 years ago, my husband was deployed and I was losing my mind, just kind of dealing with all the stuff during the day. So at night I would kind of therapeutically try and write I thought, let's do a kind of a shorter book, like a kid's book, middle grade, maybe 50,000 words or so. And let's start with an outline. So I outlined and I probably spent 5 days trying to figure out what is going to be the end of the book, because I need somewhere to be working towards. And I figured that out and I wrote the book in probably a month or less. The husband got back and I was like, hey, I wrote this book and it was super fun, just for kicks. And he's like, that's not bad for our first book. You should try and be a professional writer. So I looked for writing seminars or something. I'm like, I need to learn more. There's stuff I don't know. Have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
Okay, so the Dunning-Kruger effect says whatever you know, as far as the knowledge you know, if this is the knowledge you know, then you touch on the things that you don't know, right?
I was wondering where we're
I
going
knew
with
that you were
this.
going to do that,
Yeah. Okay.
So there's
sorry,
you're touching
I'm 4.
the circumference is the stuff you don't know, and the more you know, the bigger that circle gets, and the more you understand how much you don't know. So I already knew that I didn't know much. So I signed up for one that was like a 6-hour drive away. It was in Colorado Springs. I'm sure you know which one this is, but it was Superstars Writing Seminar. And I went there and learned all these things that I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. And so by the time I left, Tracy knows this is how most new people feel, is that your brain's going to explode. Like you've been drinking from the water hose or the fire hose is what they say. So I learned all the things that I didn't know. And so then kind of like a college degree, I just kind of dove in and started learning all the things and learned how to be a writer. So now I've got kind of a lot more. So I guess I always wanted to be a writer. I just never knew I could actually write a book because I didn't have the instructions.
I feel like the way you were approaching writing in the beginning is how you're supposed to approach tabletop role-playing games. I'm just saying that feels like that was the direction you were initially going is,
oh, yep.
I'm going to make this character do things. I love that.
And then they write them. So then if you're the DM, you're like, no, that's not part of the story.
Yeah, exactly. If you're the game master,
but they did that. And now you're stuck. You're like, oh, great.
Wouldn't that be an amazing podcast though? Like,
right?
We had drunk history where people get totally trashed and tell history stories. What if we had drunk role playing where either the DM is sober, but all the players are trashed?
Oh, that would be miserable.
All the players are sober and the DM is trashed.
There actually
that would
are
be fun.
Drunk role playing podcasts. They are phenomenal. I will send them to you. They are hysterical.
Thank you. I would love that.
Yes.
That sounds so fun.
I feel like if there's a group and there's someone in charge of them, the person in charge is the one that should always be drunk. Otherwise, it's not fun for anyone.
I do understand.
Speaking as a mom, absolutely.
If only you could go back in time and tell college me that, because I was always the like DD and the sober one and the one taking care of my friends.
Well, see, you learned all the things not to do and all the things to do. It's a very smart approach, actually, if you think about it, because the older versions of ourselves are much more able to have the fun without all the side effects.
You are a very wise person. This is true.
Right.
I know, I drink and I know things. This is literally my
Do
existence.
you have that on a shirt? Because you should.
I actually have a shirt that says I drink and I read things. And I drink and I write things. I have both shirts because, yeah. Okay.
You could have one that says I drink and I interview authors.
Oh, that would be a real. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down on a post-it. I have a lot of post-its on my desk.
Oh,
The only
girl
fee
after
I
my own
demand
heart.
is one shirt.
I'm done. Done. If you're a Dragon Con, I'll see if I can get them by then. Okay. So, Tracy, you've been a little patient during this little.
I've been drinking.
Okay,
There
I
you go.
appreciate you. Tell me your
Been warming
story.
up.
Yeah, warming up, pre-gaming. So how did I get into writing?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I think I was one of those weird kids that didn't enjoy activities. And so I would just draw pictures and make up stories. And I did that for as long as I could remember. And then when I learned how to type, I learned how to type late. Actually, I learned how to type because I wanted to write. So the typing classes, none of that worked, but the drive to write a story actually ended up is what taught me how to type. But I started writing in high school. For some reason, I was also rejecting fantasy and all the stuff that kids probably should be reading. And I thought I'd jump right into thrillers. I loved thrillers. I couldn't get my hands on enough thrillers. I wanted to read about cops and murders and FBI agents and all these cool things. And so I started writing my own thriller in high school. I didn't want to watch TV, didn't want to go to the movies, didn't want to do any of the normal teen stuff. I wanted to lock myself in my room and write my thriller.
So you were borderline serial killer. Okay, continue
Pretty
the
much.
story. Yeah, I'm getting the vibes. Okay.
Yes, I do wear a lot of black. But I probably am on the FBI watch list because it gets better. I'm writing this story and it's based in New York. It's about a terrorist attack in New York and centered around this FBI agent who's trying to like figure out where these terrorists are coming from, and a building gets blown up. Fast forward, September 11th happens, and I'm like, oh, this isn't as fun to write anymore. This is a little bit too real. So I had to table that. But when I was like in the middle of writing that, I was like calling out to the FBI field offices to do my research because I was a serious author when I was like 15. So I was interviewing FBI agents. I had this giant map of New York City in my room. I had pins in all the little locations. I knew where all the police precincts were. And I'm pretty sure the FBI is probably watching me.
That's okay. If I told you the number of times I've looked up what it takes for a body to decompose under certain circumstances, because I write horror and thrillers, I have complete certainty I am on many, many watch lists. And if anybody ever dies around me, I'm totally fucked. Because, yeah, they'll find it and go, she Googled this actually on this
search history. I know.
Yeah, no, there's no deleting your search history. I worked for a cybersecurity firm. I'm well aware of that. People are like, I'll do an incognito window. And I'm like,
No.
oh, you're dumb. That's not how that works. The only thing that works for is flights. So you can do flights and things, but it's not going to have anything.
Fun fact, if you live in a rural area, just use pigs. If you live near the coast, find an area where you have a lot of tiger sharks. And in all other cases, find a big vat of lye. I'm putting this on this podcast so someone who's listening to this podcast who is interested in that information won't have to get it in their search histories, but they are now aware of it.
No, that's true. Here's my biggest advice. If you're going to do something dumb, don't take your fucking cell phone with you.
Yes.
Like, this is number one piece of advice out there. Do not take your cell phone with you. Or if your car has GPS, don't take that car with you. because they can find it. Anyway, we'll sit down and we'll write a true crime. It'll be great. Okay.
Oh my God. What about Tracy, what if you wrote a fantasy true crime?
That could be fun. I probably should get back to my thriller roots. Now I've embraced all the things I tried to reject when I was, in high school. I'm like, okay, I want the fantasy now. I want the dragons. I want the creatures. And so I've come to have kids now. So now,
Misplaced Adventures is embracing all kinds of genres. Why don't you do it? You should.
I should. I'm going to kill things.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I've killed many things, so I know. CM, how did you get your start?
In writing?
Yes, that was the question.
So I didn't really read until I was 7 because I have an eye thing. A nurse caught that. And then once I started reading, my mother's hopes died because I was no longer going to be a cheerleader. I was going to be a weird bookworm, and she never got over it. And then when I was in 4th grade, when you're a kid, like you mistake handwriting for writing skill. I was doing that. My 4th grade teacher hated reading my work because she had to put on her glasses and it made her feel old. But when we learned how to write a narrative, I remembered I wrote it out, but then I was in the tub that night thinking of ways to expand it and make it even bigger. And when I told her that, she was like, honey, you're supposed to write a short story, not a novel. And I have this very vivid memory of sitting at the table with her while she was reading my story and just being really, really, really nervous about it because I thought I couldn't write because she always complained about my writing. And she made a big show of having to put on her glasses. And then when she starts reading the story, she jumped up and just like let out this cry. And I didn't know what the fuck was happening. And I was scared that I was in trouble. And it turned out she was doing that because she was surprised in a good way and that she liked it. And she was just taken aback. She hadn't expected it. But after that, I realized I could write. Then I saw a seminar with David Almond and learned I want to write. And after that, that just kind of became a defining thing for me, especially through the teenage years when things are really rough and you're not happy and you're just constantly looking to escape. Writing and fantasy and creating stories, particularly Wump. If you're familiar with the concept of Wump, it's a fan fiction concept.
No, but this sounds delightful. Do inform us.
Wump originated in the Stargate fandom, and it was basically torture the character. Be as mean to the character as you can, because the idea behind Wump is you're going to be horrible to this character. You're going to put them through the absolute worst because they're going to make it out the other side. And it's just this profound catharsis you get in the fan fiction. And so you see it in a lot of Stargate fan fictions. It got really big also in this Lord of the Rings buddy cop kind of series called the Melon Chronicles, where just every other fic, either Aragorn, son of Arathorn, or Legolas of Mirkwood were getting tortured, but they were always okay. And I just kind of, I think, latched onto it when I was a teenager because it's like, if they could do this, I can get through what I'm going through. And so by that point, the idea of creating stories, particularly stories where characters go through awful shit, but they're going to make it to the other side. And even if the story doesn't have a happy ending, they're still going to be okay on some level, kind of got imprinted in me. And so after that, it was just sort of a matter of time. Like it's to the point where it's my whole personality, basically. That, cats, crocheting, and being weird.
I feel like the last thing actually comes first and then everything else comes after.
I did not discover my love of cats until later. They were latecomers into the life.
I see that. And one has joined us on the podcast. Okay. We actually have to take a quick break, and we will be right back with Drinking with Authors. Hey, listeners. You know me, Eric Lance. You're just listening to me in the podcast that you have. But guess what? I'm doing something new.
Yeah, she's joining me, Mark Muncy, the author of the Erie, Florida book series in Erie, Appalachia, and we are hosting a new podcast called Erie Travels.
Woo-woo! Erie Travels, which covers things like ghosts, cryptids, weird stuff, UFOs, men in black, all kinds of fun things that people talk about, and I'm sure you've discussed with friends.
Yep, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform of choice, or find us at erietravels.com and join in the fun and all the spooky goodness.
And of course, Mark, what do we always say?
We'll see you on the other side.
Okay, we are back, having many discussions off. Don't worry, they were fun. Not as fun as this is about to be. So,
But we're not allowed to talk about them for legal reasons.
Exactly. Everybody's on an NDA.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. No. Okay, we're going to do.
Demon made her say that.
Yeah. She sent me a private thing. Was like, say the NDA. No. Okay, we are going to do a very fun, because of Misplaced Adventures, literary briefs, rapid fire questions. Are we prepared? We're not. It's okay.
No.
Let's do this, because I didn't give any. I actually have people ask me all the time, can I have the questions in advance? And I'm like, no, I drink. I don't even know what the questions are going to be. It's fine. We'll get there. Okay.
Have I had enough to drink for this?
I'm not sure. You're going to have to be the judge of that, along with the audience. But my question is this: who would play the lead character in your guys' stories? But the cool part is with Tracy here, I get to hear whether she agrees or thinks it's somebody else.
Ooh, I like this game.
I do too. This is fun. I haven't gotten to do this before. So I'm going to make CM go first because she's being a little cocky on the podcast. Just going to say that. No, I'm kidding. But
You invited me to drink. You did this.
yes.
It's probably because I have a crush on her, but May Calamaway from Moon Knight would probably be a good picket.
Hold on, wait. What's that name again?
May Calamaway, she played Layla El Fuli on Moon Knight. Like, imagine that, but she has more freckles and she's a mess. And she could be a good picket.
I could see that.
Okay, but Tracy, would that have been your choice?
Oh, there's so many options.
You know, I'm not familiar with this actress, so it wouldn't have been my choice because I've just learned about her. So I'd have to really think about who would play.
Okay, we'll come back
Okay.
to who you think would play, as Jen says who would play her lead.
I think Halle Berry would do a good job of it if we're going with people other people might know. She's got kind of she could do kind of the polite thing, but also the like RBF, like don't mess with me kind of vibe that Hetty gets into here and there later in the books. But
Okay.
I would say Halle Berry.
Okay, Tracy, where did we land on Halle Berry being a good choice?
I could see that. Younger, though, of course.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, what are you talking? She's still like 22, isn't she?
I know.
She looks like she's 22, so we can go with that.
It's because everybody in Hollywood is a vampire. We learned about it on Inside Job.
Right. Who would you have said, Tracy?
I'm trying to think because this is really hard. Because I can picture in my head, I can't honestly pick an actress that would fit her.
Me neither. I only picked her because that's like the closest I could find.
And I could live with that. I could live with that casting decision.
Okay.
Trying to think of the name of the person that I kind of pictured picket.
There's Googling happening behind the scenes here.
What is happening?
I'm pulling up Google so I can double check it and gasp.
I have it's a singer though. It's not an actress.
Singers can act sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Do you watch Young Sheldon?
No, I need to. I've heard it's so good.
Mima is the grandma there, and I feel like she'd make a good Pickett. She's just sassy enough to just.
That's what Pickett
I feel
is
like
going
she would
to
do
become.
great. Yeah, I can tell. I can tell.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna watch that show and go.
You should watch. You do YouTube clips or something of Mima from Young Sheldon, and
I have seen some of the show, and I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
All right. I have the singer's name. It's Alicia Cara, I think, is her name. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right.
Okay. I could see that, but also like more of a mess.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I could see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah. And I can see like those two kind of look alike. So
honestly, I could probably see Alicia Cara being closer because her hair is not as like her hair is not as traditionally curly, and Pickett is not going to treat her hair well. So her hair is probably the other type, but it gets frizzier. But her hair still will not look quite this nice.
Yeah.
Because Alicia Cara takes care of herself and is pretty.
Well, she has
Pickett will not be.
Yeah, I was going to say they're paid to do that. Okay. Next question. Do you have a playlist for each of your books? And then Tracy, for your books that you write, because I know, do you have a playlist? So the question will start with Jen. Do you have a playlist?
I do. It's the same playlist for every book. It's called Super Deep Red Noise, and it is red noise static that plays on a 12-hour loop on YouTube. That is my list for everything.
I like it. Okay, Tracy?
I do have a playlist for whatever I'm writing, and for my Sarah the Salaryman Slayer. Gosh, it's all over the place. I've got Billie Eilish on there. Somehow BTS got in there. I'm like, how are you guys
good.
Get in here? I know they're so catchy and annoying. I love them. And then who's the other one in there? I can't remember the other one. There's another one in there, but yeah, mostly Billie Eilish and BTS somehow got in there for Sarah.
I could see him.
I make a custom playlist for every single book and universe because it's easier than writing because writing is very hard. Let's see.
That's your procrastination.
What? No.
Don't do that.
What author y'all don't procrastinate.
Oh,
I'm sure none of us have ever done that.
No, I definitely don't use recording podcasts as a procrastination tactic for my writing at all.
No, none of us do. We're all very professional, and there's definitely not a story about a famous author who had to be locked in a hotel room to feed pages one at a time to his editor underneath because he was so behind schedule. What? No. Yeah, I do have several. I haven't updated the playlist to reflect kind of where the story ended up going because the playlist changes as I write the story, and I'm a plotter who pantses along the way, so everything changes. I will say one song that has stayed consistent is "What the Fuck Was That" from the Evil Dead musical.
I like that. I enjoyed the Evil Dead musical. A friend of mine got me the front row tickets to it. And then got himself. I love Evil Dead. I was totally thrilled.
But you're going to get so messy.
Oh, I was so messy. The best part, though, it made my day, was he got tickets and he's like, here's your ticket. And I was like, okay, where are we sitting? And he goes, no, you're sitting up front. Because he's like, we're going to need a change of clothes for what we're doing. And I'm like, okay, what are we doing? And then he made me pack a change of clothes, gave me my ticket, and then sat all the way up in the back. And so I was there. It was brilliant, though. I absolutely love that. So
it's such a good musical, and I know every word to "What the Fuck Was That."
I love that. But like you, Jen, I actually found by a podcast guest, because I can't hear words when I'm writing, because then I start saying I will sing every song. But that's what I'll do instead of actually typing words. So it's called Cryo Tank or something, and it's on YouTube, and it's just noise through the whole. I love it. Cryo, it's amazing.
I will have to give that a shot.
Yeah, because and they do a live streaming, which is really just them playing this. Anyway, it's really neat. Okay. Next question. If you could be any mythological or fantastical creature, what would you be and why? CM, you're going first.
Not a fae, because fuck that noise. I'm not allowed to switch, am I?
Nope.
Probably a harpy. Just
Okay.
because if somebody pisses me off, harpies are basically like sirens, but they're birds. I can fly, which is bitchin'. And again, if someone pisses me off, I can just lure them to their death.
I like it. What universe of harpy?
I would say the Greek.
See, I feel like it's very much a Gina Showalter harpy that you just described. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to look that up because yes, you would be much happier being one of those. Gotcha. Close, but a few more abilities. Just throwing that out there.
You know, I have a Gina Showalter book on my to-read shelf. I will have to move it up a few notches.
I would. They are great, fun reads. Not like I'm going to be immersed in for. They're just amazingly fun reads. Okay, Jen, what creature are you going to be?
I'm going to be a fox dragon.
What is a fox dragon? I've never heard of this.
Pretty much, it's something I invented, but it's in a coloring book, and I've got an artist friend that has colored one. Yeah, it's basically a fox with dragon wings and like sharp teeth and super cute and cuddly until you piss it off, and then also it can fly. So,
From Tanya Hale's coloring book.
Yeah, Tanya Hale's storybook. Yes.
Yeah,
she does a wonderful baby fox dragon.
Is it the size of a fox though? Like
no, it's giant size, dragon sized.
Okay. Because I was like, if you're going to be this big, even with wings and jaws, you're still only mildly terrifying.
Right. That would be like really angry Chihuahua, which is only so threatening. So yeah, no, full size dragon size fox.
Rattlesnakes are about that size and they're deeply terrifying. So I think
rattlesnakes are great. I've been bitten by those. Those are fun.
I've eaten those. This is a different story though. Okay, Tracy, what would you be?
Werewolf.
Which universe werewolf?
Oh, the kind that eat people.
Okay, most of them do eat people. I just had this on my other podcast because we came up with which werewolf is the strongest. Do you want to know which one we came up with?
Yes.
It's from an absolutely terrible movie, but the only thing that can kill it is titanium.
Oh, interesting. What movie is this?
The Howling 2.
I don't think I've seen that.
Don't.
And she has to do research.
Yeah. If you do, I am literally not responsible for you losing that time in your existence.
It looks amazing though.
No, you're going to end up sending me hate mail, even if you enjoy this podcast, if you do that to yourself.
Tracy, I can recommend you some really good graphic novels to read instead.
Yeah. But anyway, if you do enjoy Titanium, they're pretty badass. They're the strongest in the worst movie ever in the world. Okay. Then what is, if you could be any of the characters you have ever written, who would you be? We will start with you, Tracy.
Oh God. I don't know if I'd want to be any of them.
Well, you have to choose one. That's what these questions are. You signed a contract.
All right. If I had to choose one, I would probably be Gail, she is actually a werewolf and she carries it very well. She walks that line between wolf and woman and she just combines the two and she uses that strength. I would love to be her. I'd feel safe being her. So The other ones, I don't know.
I like it. Okay. Jen, who are you being?
How spoilery are we allowed to get? This is just for a short story, so I'm going to spoil it. There was a David Farland tribute anthology from Superstars that's called Wizards and Wolves. And I have a story in that about a teenage boy who does kind of sleight of hand magic and makes things disappear, but really he sticks it in kind of an empty space, sort of an alternate dimension portal. And he gets bullied a lot. And at the end of the story, he ends up there's something in that empty space that hears his kind of like plea for like justice for getting picked on by all the jocks. And this thing kind of resonates superpower, and it manifests through the floor. There's an emblem on the basketball court, like a mascot, and it's a wolf. And so he manifests this giant glowing wolf that's the mascot of the school that's like horse sized, and it terrifies all the kids, and they all run away. And I think I would like to be that guy. That would be fun.
I like that. I like that. Okay, CM, who are you being?
Probably Jessica Witters from Iron Spark, because she is the least traumatized character of the majority of my main characters.
Okay. I like that you went for opposite trauma, not hero arc. You went for what is the least amount of damage that's going to occur to me. I appreciate that. I do. Okay. So final question before we go to shameless self-promotion time. If you could sit down and have lunch with any author, alive or dead, they'd be alive when you were eating with them and not a zombie, but you could sit down and have a lunch with them, who would it be? Jen.
There is an author, gosh, and I'm trying to okay. Jackie Faber. So there's this series called Bloody Jack. Yes.
Oh yes. God, sorry.
Okay. It's about a girl who dresses up like a boy to join like the Royal Navy's ships or something. I don't like history. I don't like historical fiction. This was a phenomenally done teenage girl that's just like, it was so well done. Anyway, L.A. Meyer is the guy that writes it, and he's dead now. And I read the series and finished and was like, oh, I got to reach out to this author and say how amazing the books were. And I found out like he passed away a few years before I read the series. And I was so, so disappointed. Old dude who wrote like a teenage girl so well. Like she just is alive in my mind. I love her.
I like that. I love that answer. Okay, Tracy, what about you?
Probably Diane Wynne Jones. I really enjoy the fantasy stories that she's created. I read her quite a bit throughout my life without realizing who I was reading until I got older. I was like, oh, who wrote that one book that I really loved? Oh, it's her. And then same thing, Jen, like I kind of looked her up because I went through this thing that, I got to write all my favorite authors to tell them how much they impacted my life. And then I was going through my list. I'm like, they're all dead. This is really sad. So,
seance time. I appreciate that, but
yeah.
We could do a seance and we could just summon all the dead authors.
Here we go.
That won't end badly.
Oh, no. Ouija board.
Yeah.
Fuck Ouija boards.
No,
you don't know if you're actually summoning who you think you're summoning.
Yeah.
We need to have the supernatural, like the Winchesters playing in the background to scare them off.
Nope. Fuck that, because they love to fuck with the Winchesters. It's like
but they mess with them back.
It's like a dick measuring contest with them. Yeah. To see who can fuck over the Winchesters. No, not even.
Right.
Okay. Well, on that note, CM, who would you go to lunch with?
It's a tie. For the positive experience, I would love to summon J.R.R. Tolkien. He's been really influential to, I think, my whole generation, because the Lord of the Rings movies came out. We all then went and reread The Hobbit, reread Lord of the Rings. His connection to folklore, just being able to read Beowulf and seeing the influences, and the very fact that we know that he was progressive even within his time and learned from his mistakes, was willing to grow, I think would mean that he wouldn't necessarily hate talking to someone like me who admired his work. Makes me think that would be a wonderful luncheon. He would probably prank the waiter. On the other hand, I would love to have lunch with Yukio Mishima, so I could order a pot of hot tea and then just throw it at his fascist ass.
Okay. Interesting spin. I appreciate that. Cool. A little violence tempered at the end of our podcast here. Totally awesome, though. Hopefully Tolkien wouldn't just talk about trees your entire time, because then you might hashtag regret that.
No, I would not regret that. That would be awesome. I would love that.
I'm with you, Erica.
Yeah, no. I have a friend that literally teaches Tolkien. She is such a huge Tolkien fan. She's the co-host on the show, Jen Bair. I love her. She's one of my best friends. Fuck the amount of trees in that book. No,
it's wonderful.
Okay.
Good. You can talk
You
to
and
him
her,
and keep him company.
yeah, can have
Good
fucking
job.
tea and talk about the trees. Not interested.
I could be the buffer between Tolkien and everyone
go.
else because no one else
Right.
wants to hear it.
No, there's entire things. Okay, so shameless self-promotion time. Let's talk a little bit about where to find you and what's up and coming on this project. So Tracy, we'll start with you, my friend.
Yeah, my website is tracynakatani.com. And my current work is Sarah the Salaryman Slayer. It's currently being released on Kindle Vella. But once that is finished being released as a serial, I will release it as a complete book and start, serializing it that way.
Awesome sauce. Okay, Jen.
You can find me on Facebook. I'm author Jen Bair. You can find me on my website, jenbair.com. I've got a newsletter on there. If you sign up, you get a free short story that was a semifinalist in Writers of the Future contest. And you can find One Good Eye, should be out July 25th of this year. Give it a go. It's about a witch and a sentient eyeball having adventures together. So
Awesome. CM.
My name is Tia McGuire, and my website is SEEMMCGUIRE.com. I thought it would be fun to spell it phonetically. That's also my handle on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And
Wonderbar. And your book
is Beer for My Corpses. I think it's coming out next year. Tracy, is it coming out next year?
Think so?
Yeah.
I am sure your website's going to keep everybody up to date on that, right?
Absolutely. I'm a professional who definitely does that.
Definitely going to do that. And if you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll definitely be kept up to date, because of course you have a newsletter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
For sure.
Awesome. It has been so much fun having everyone on the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
thanks for having us.
Yeah. Super fun.
This is very, very fun. It's like having some drinks with the girls. I love it. Okay. So this has been Drinking with Authors. I have been your host, Erica Lance. We've had the amazing group from Misplaced Adventures. And don't forget to like and subscribe, leave reviews, leave comments. We love all of that. And we will catch you next time.